This video is sponsored by Noble Gold. Amazon's Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power is due out in September, but after seeing the trailer and learning the stated intentions of the showrunners, Tolkien fans were far from excited. Rather than honoring or building on Tolkien's life work and legacy, Amazon's The Rings of Power seems intent on deconstructing and subverting it. The response from actual fans was so lackluster that Amazon had to hire social media influencers to feign any kind of enthusiasm for the series, as the built-in audience by and large felt anything but. Many a fan even found solace in the fact that Amazon only had the rights to the appendices and none of Tolkien's more defining works, like the Silmarillion, the Lord of the Rings proper, or the Hobbit, meaning there was a limit to what kind of damage they could do to Tolkien's legacy. At least, that was the case up until just a few days ago. Since that, Amazon has in fact acquired the rights to The Hobbit. In this video, we'll explore how that happened, the implications of it, and if the fan response to The Rings of Power in any way will inform what they do with The Hobbit. But before we dive into the escapism of Tolkien, let's briefly discuss some real-world matters that affects everyone. There's a lot of turbulence and uncertainty going on right now. And according to the financial newspaper The Economist, the stock market lost over $1 trillion so far this year. You heard that right, $1 trillion. Facebook has fallen out of the top 10 tech stocks, the dollar's position as the world's reserve is not as secure as it once was, and all the markets have jitters. Many are really worried about the long-term ripple effects this might have on them, but not those with gold and silver as their backup plan. They know that with precious metals in their IRA, they'll be fine. Noble Gold has thousands of clients who have safely invested with them. Most heard an ad like this and called the experts at Noble Gold, where you'll be met not by a call center, but by specialists who will give you your options. And for the month of March, with any qualified IRA above $20K, you'll get a 3-ounce Silver American Virtue coin, or a 5-ounce America the Beautiful Silver coin for anything over $50K. You know what to do. Call 877-646-5347 now to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. See our link in the description. With that, let's venture back into the world of Tolkien, or rather, Amazon's interpretation of it. On March 17th, Inside the Magic reported that Amazon had acquired the rights to The Hobbit. To be clear, this does not mean that they bought a license that at some point will revert back to someone else. No, they all outbought all entertainment rights related to The Hobbit. That's movie rights, TV rights, video game rights, theme park rights, and any other entertainment rights you can think of, now fully belonging to Amazon. Only the rights of the original book remain with the Tolkien estate. The process of how that happened goes back to February 9th, when Variety broke the exclusive scoop that the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit film and gaming rights were up for sale. Since 1976, those rights have belonged to the Sal Zance Company, who are not a part of Amazon's The Rings of Power series. Through the loopholes of it being a TV series and based on the appendices, Amazon were able to cut the deal for that directly with the Tolkien estate, bypassing the Sal Zance Company altogether. But if Amazon ever wanted to be able to do more Tolkien than the appendices, they would either have to cut a deal with or all out acquire the rights from the Sal Zance Company. On February 9th then, the Sal Zance Company made it public that they had decided that the time had come to cash in on their Tolkien entertainment rights. And so they were shopping around for a potential buyer for all the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movie rights, video game rights, and theme park rights. ACF Investment Bank was hired to facilitate the sale process, and they were reaching out directly to potential buyers in Hollywood. The one explicitly mentioned at the time was Amazon, whom we have now learned has indeed bought all the entertainment rights to The Hobbit. That of course leaves the question, why not the Lord of the Rings as well? During the Sal Zance Company's tenure as the owners of the Tolkien entertainment rights, they've been the subject of numerous litigation cases, with more or less every stakeholder they ever worked with, ranging from Warner to the book publisher HarperCollins and to the Tolkien estate itself. At some point, all had some form of complaint against them. This indicates they might not have been too good at reading the fine print in their own contracts, which we most recently saw an example of it in that February 9th article announcing their intent to sell the rights. There, they stated they could sell the rights of The Lord of the Rings because it was their opinion that Warner's stake in those rights had lapsed, since they hadn't developed any Middle-earth adventures for many years. In our previous video covering this matter, we stated that the Sal Zance Company's opinion was likely to be disputed by Warner, who are developing an animated Lord of the Rings spin-off, which does connect to the Peter Jackson continuity, and they are most likely doing so for the explicit purpose of extending the rights. That Amazon only bought the Hobbit rights and not the Lord of the Rings rights, which they could easily afford, suggests that the Salzans company can't sell them, because Warner still has a legally valid stake in them, which trumps any opinion. The implication of that, however, is that Tolkien's entertainment rights have now been split. With Amazon now owning the Hobbit entertainment rights, and the Salzans company presumably owning the Lord of the Rings entertainment rights, the film rights of which are licensed to Warner, then outside of the books, Tolkien is now a house divided. For as long as this situation persists, no one can make a new Hobbit adaptation and have it connect with a new Lord of the Rings adaptation, and no one can make a video game or even theme park that references both. From here on out, it's one or the other, not both. This is the new normal. For all intents and purposes, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings are now two legally separate properties, controlled by corporate rivals. Never again the two shall meet. But now that Amazon owns The Hobbit, what will they do with it? With Amazon now owning the Hobbit entertainment rights, they can do whatever they want with them. They are answerable to no one, and there is no quality control. Christopher Tolkien, who used to do that on behalf of the Tolkien estate, is no longer with us, while Amazon already pushed out the actual Tolkien scholar, Tom Shippey. Now, being the rights owners, Amazon are free to adapt The Hobbit however they see fit, both as a movie or as a TV series, which is far more likely. The only thing they might not be able to do is mix The Hobbit directly into the Rings of Power, as that series is made on license from the Tolkien estate, which means that they would have sign-off on such a merging of brands. What they would not have to sign off on, though, is if Amazon makes a spin-off series that audiences are told directly follows the events of the Rings of Power, similar to how Netflix makes Vikings Valhalla as a spin-off series to the History Channel's series Vikings. Only time will tell what they do, but that certainly seems like a probable course of action. But regardless of which format their eventual adaptation will take, is there any chance they will listen to the fan feedback from the Rings of Power? There are those who believe that Amazon's The Rings of Power may be cancelled if it isn't sufficiently popular with the audience, but let us disabuse of that notion right away. Amazon's Rings of Power has been commissioned for a 5-season run, and it will get a 5-season run regardless of what the audience thinks of it, or how many are actually watching. Amazon would of course like to have as many viewers as possible, and they will listen to audience feedback to that. The question is, which feedback will they choose to listen to? Will they listen to feedback from Tolkien fans, whom publications like Den of Geek have already dismissed as alt-right trolls? Or will they listen to feedback from friendlier voices in the entertainment media complex, like CBR for instance, who claim that some fans were unhappy with the generic sets in Wheel of Time, but loved the storytelling, and that the other fans were unhappy with the generic costumes in the Rings of Power, but remained super excited for the show? You tell us, which feedback do you think Amazon is more likely to take on board? Let us know your thoughts on all of this in the comments. And before you go, call 877-646-5347 now to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. See our link in the description.